What's your Jimmy name again? Oh, okay. Fatima.
Yes, sir, Big Daddy.
Fatima, could you take young Django there? Take him around the plantation and show him all the pretty stuff?
As you please, Big Daddy.
Fatima Sugar, Django is a free man. He's not like any of the slaves around here, so you must treat him as such.
Yes.
You can't treat him like any other niggas around here, because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You understand?
You want us to treat him like white folks?
No, that's not what I said.
Then I don't know what you want, Big Daddy.
What's the name of that damn Peckerwood boy who works with the glass? Jerry. You know Jerry, right? You just treat old Django here like you would Jerry. Okay, so...
Okay, Big Daddy. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Django Unchained. Now, this movie is from 2012. It stars Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz. It's also directed by Quentin Tarantino. Now, I can vividly remember going to the movies then and loving everything about this movie. I was getting my life. It was a good time, as most Quentin Tarantino movies are. Now, before I get into why now, in 2021, the movie hits a little different, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things Django. Django? Was this movie really all about Django? Because I feel like we didn't get Django until, the last 30 minutes of the movie. Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. Now, we have to take a whole second on the subscriber who paid for and requested this movie. This subscriber right here. If I tell y'all, homie has been asking for me to review Django for about a year now, and I have yet to do so. So if you happen to get your life watching this Django review, this is all thanks and courtesy to this man here. Thank you so much for supporting and loving my content. You all that. Now, we must first start with the director, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. This is actually one of the first Quentin Tarantino films that I am doing on this channel, but it will not be the last. Let's gush over him as a director for a second. Now, all of his films always include the following. There's always, some really gushy, gory ass violence. He loves some good blood spatter. We always get these really good, set pieces and set designs. He really knows how to set a really good atmosphere to get you really into the movie. We always get really good, intense, action-packed, climatic fight scenes that are always great to watch. There's always these really great, impeccable ass scripts. They're well written, and most of the time we really get into this two-person conversation perspective in his movie of people exchanging dialogue, and it's always so good, and it really helps with the characters because you get really invested in the characters, and it's not always just one or two characters that are well written and well rounded. It's mostly most of them characters, which is great to see. There's always some comedy here. He's gonna make you laugh at some point in his movie. You might see, some goddamn feet, because he loves some feet. And most of all, he loves to pay homage to, the 60s and the 70s and all those other films from the past that he loves. And he gives his films a different nostalgic feel. And he manages to knock it out of the park every single time. Like, every single one of his films slap. And even the ones that don't slap completely still do. It's rare that you're gonna see a really bad Quentin Tarantino film. When you see one, you know you in for some motherfuckers, maybe a couple of N-words, lots of profanity, and a good goddamn time. Now, Quentin Tarantino managed to take everything that we love and create a modern day Western. It is not easy to recapture, that Western atmosphere, but he does a really good job here. Now, the Django is sort of kinda a remake, but not really. There was a previous Django film from 1966 that was banned for a while, but other than a couple of familiar themes, like of course it being a Western, Django being a sharpshooter, the letterhead, that old Django, that little, Django, that damn song from, certain moments in the film, they are pretty much two different films, but, I feel like maybe, Quentin Tarantino really loved the film and it was kind of a homage situation. That's why it's Django Unchained. But we do get a cameo from the lead actor, Franco Nero, from that 1966 film, who also played the Django, old dude who was sitting with his little Mandigo fighter with his little feelings hurt because he lost. Hey, what's your name? Django. Can you spell it? The D is silent? That was him. Little homage. I see you, Quentin. Now, getting into Django here, portrayed by Jamie Foxx, he is a slave and he is sort of rescued by King Schultz. Now, he does, have his own motives of why he wants to rescue them. He is a German bounty hunter and he is looking for 3 brothers, at which he's the only one who knows where they are because he used to be at the plantation. Getting back into watching this film, fucking Christoph Waltz, I absolutely loved him in Inglourious Bastards, and I've seen him in a few other films, but Inglourious Bastards, in this film in particular, I absolutely love him here. And going back, I was just kind of taken at how much I was so invested in his character, more so than I was Django. I felt like once we got kind of beyond Django, rescuing the damsel in distress and his revenge fantasy, it was just we weren't left with much substance until we got to the very, very ending of the film. But what kept me going, because this movie is pretty much 3 hours long, what kept me going was our Christoph Waltz, King Schultz character. He is just so phenomenal to watch and so good with his delivery. I was like, wow, Django, I was fucking with Django, but I was like, he's amazing. Now, right away with, Django being rescued, we get into the comedy via the writing and, nigger, don't you touch my brother's jacket and all of that good stuff. But I was just totally distracted at how much I was just not invested in Django and his story. Once we get really, not even midway through that first hour, we are solely really focusing on and being pulled into King Schultz's world to even really register what's going on with Django. Now, of course, we love the idea of, Django learning. He pretty much takes him under his wings, shows him, the ways of the bounty hunter, always have your warrant. This is what, I'm able to do. But for the most part, we're being pulled into him as a character. We see that he is just always two steps ahead. Schultz is very, very smart and loves to be kind of a troll. He's a little bit of a troll. Yes, I can come into town, I can pop, which was a liberty in itself. With this, being an action Western, this is more so comedy for me. This is very funny. I really wish that we got a real Django story that was, all the way centered strictly around Django. Like if we could have got, that real revenge fantasy and this slave kind of like this Nat Turner type feel, that would have been great to see in, the position of an old Western. But we don't quite get that here because we're getting so invested in the surrounding white characters that this just can't be solely this black man's revenge story, because he only gets Seth revenge courtesy of his white man. Like even from the very, very beginning, we are made to understand that unlike most of the white men at that time, Schultz is not into slavery, ownership, captivity at all of any kind. He is against pretty much all things oppressions. He would love nothing more than for people to be treated equally. Not only does he, free the Django, but he frees all the other, shackled slaves who were there with him. And it's just, a sense of, like, oh my God, thank God that he's here. Thank God that he's here, because what was we gonna do if he wasn't here? I just kind of feel like we were a little shortchanged as far as this being the Django story. Now, right after that, we get into it's a nigga on a horse. They ain't never seen no nigga on no horse before. Like, the acting across the board was so well executed here. But as we're moving from scene to scene, we get pulled more into Schultz's character than we do Django. We get into not only him being smarter than smart, but him wanting to, teach Django the fascinating world of bounty hunting in exchange for finding the Brittle brothers along with his freedom. Now, Holtz is a very fast talker, and he's killing white men left and right without any repercussions and not being gunned down because he has his little piece of paper, and it's like, it was beyond me. I wish we could have got, a little bit more there, but we kept kind of going from scene to scene with shows just like, my hands are up and I have a piece of paper, you cannot shoot me, or my black companion, like, and it was funny. It was freaking, hilarious to see him kind of finesse his way out of that situation. And you see right away that, he likes a sense of trickery, control. He likes the hunt, the chase of finessing, to not only say, hey, I got over on this person and you're gonna pay me for it. Like, damn right, I shoot him again. This is warrant $7,000. Give me my money. He prides himself on those things. So when we see him, make that decision that he makes at the end, we can kind of understand why. Not only is it because Calvin Candy was, a racist piece of shit, it was just like, I lost. We don't see him lose in the film as far as, the little things that he's trying to execute his plans as far as a bounty hunter up until that very moment. But once again, we just have, Django as a beeline character kind of in awe, kind of put to the side. And we only kind of pull him in when we get to talking about Broomhilda, aka Kerry Washington, and we get more of those flashbacks, but most of that doesn't really equate to much when you get into them kind of pretty much wanting to be married and running away and seeking their freedom, and him needing to find her, them being sold, to separate plantations. And his whole thing is, not only am I gonna go and ride off and use this money you're giving me for helping you bounty hunt to live my life, I'm gonna go and collect my wife. And since Schultz is one of the good wives, he's very obliged to help him. Like, oh, not only am I a good wife and I'm willing to help, she's German and she speaks German and she has a German name, and I'm a German. I'm here for it. Now, beyond that point, we get more into freaking fluff. Now, we do have slowly have the theme in the story, even though we are mainly focusing on Schultz. We have Django coming into his own and trying to figure himself out, which is why when he's trying to figure out what he wants to wear, we need to be in disguise. Like, Schultz lives for the hunt. Like, no, I'm not just coming in as a bounty hunter. Like, no, we going in disguise. This is your role. This is mine. We're about to finesse, and this is a good time for him. And curl our little Pinky in the Brain mustache. Like, he loves it. But you have him pick, the baby boy blue yes, a boss butler. And as we see him come into his own, we see him, you know, with the smoke and the pancake, the hat, the glasses, and his appearance changes. But for the most part, in the beginning, he is, you know, a tag along. He's learning. You see that he's kind of helping him with reading and little stuff like that. I was just taken aback at how much of a side character he was in his own film. Even when we get more into, of course, the backstory, we have them running away, and it's, you know, passionate. We get the gist of, you know, why they wanted to run away and the brutality that they suffered, and, you know, the beating and those little, but they're like really quick little flashbacks. All that does is to really service how much Django probably wants his revenge against the brutal brother. So when we have that situation happen, we feel, you know, kind of vindicated with him. But it's just not, even when, you know, we have them traveling in more and more scenery. Like, there is a lot of fluff here in this film, a lot of scenery shots, a lot of shots that linger and go on for a long time. This film low-key could have been 2 hours, but that's okay. But by the time we get to, I don't know what you want, Big Daddy. You want us to stream like white folks? That's not what I said. By the time we get there, you know, the game is on, and it's just like, okay, we're getting these brutal brothers, but we still have Django coming into his own, but it's kind of like he's being controlled by Schultz. Even though that is a great scene, you know, when she shouts him around the plantation and he spots those brutal brothers, and he has flashbacks of, you know, what they did, the branding, all of that good stuff. And cow, I like the way you die, boy. And he's whooping ass in slow motion. It is good as fuck. That is an amazing scene. And that, even though he had on a little whack ass blue outfit, it was such a pop of color in the midst of all those, you know, mutant nature, slave-esque ass colors. But he has that blue on, and he's, you know, whooping ass, and y'all want to see something. And it's just, you know, it's the revenge fantasy that we love to see and what we've been waiting on. Yes, you beat me. You thought I was done. You sold me. You tried to belittle me, and you sold my wife off. But look, nigga, I'm back, and I'm back with a vengeance, and I'm about to whoop your ass and then kill you. But it just, it doesn't sting all the way, because we know, that these things wouldn't be possible without Schultz. And it's just, I was like, is this really Django? But you have, you know, him riding. I love that scene when he's riding on the horse, and he's like, are you sure that's him? Yeah, I'm sure. You positive? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I'm positive. I'm sure. I don't know what positive means. Oh, you should. Yeah. That's him, nigga. Shoot him. But we have really great dialogue and that going on, just to show how much, you know, bonding is going on between them, and that Schultz is just that kind of guy, and he's just willing to help him along the way for him to better his life and get to Broomhilda. But a part of me just wanted Django to get to Broomhilda by himself. Now, of course, we do have him there, and we have, for the most part, like, it's not even coming into full circle with Broomhilda. For more than half the damn movie, she's a freaking mirage, and it's just, you know, someone that he needs to go save and needs to go rescue, but she's in the background also. She doesn't, you know, have a ton of lines herself. Like, they just really take for granted us holding on to this being a Django movie for a very long time in the film. But we do slowly have it moving me down the highway, bang, moving me down the highway, moving up, life don't pass me, bam, bam. They're just fucking it up. They was having a good old time, sharpshooting, practicing, and all of that other good stuff. But of course, we beeline and we get more comedy once Big Daddy realizes, you know, I've been taken. And we have the Birth of a Nation riding over the hill in the moon. Like, that whole shot there was very Birth of a Nation. But we take something like that Ku Klux Klan in the making and make it funny with the whole, I can't see shit out of this fucking thing. We all can agree that the bags were a nice idea. But they could have been executed. Y'all ain't gotta worry about nothing, you sons of bitches. But once again, we also take that moment to have Schultz outsmart someone. This is his moment to shine. he has him, riding, and it's a whole, mirage, and the cart blows up in the face, and, he opens fire, killing all the white men outside. But we have that moment of the Django coming into his own and him becoming that sharp shooter, and it's like, pow, I got him. It's like, oh, he's a natural, like he's good. But it's Schultz going, he's a natural, he's good, because this is Schultz. So now that we've turned Django into this really great sharpshooter, showed him the ways of bounty hunting, got his gear up, we no longer little boy blue. We got our little hat, our little jacket on, our little shades. We got some swag now, and also, instilling, holding on to that first warrant, and it's important, of course, because we're gonna need that later. But we have established, we've got the money together, we're good to go. Then we get into the plan to go and really rescue Hildy. Now, I was like looking at that moment like, what? I love when it's like, oh yeah, she said, Candyland, like, oh, don't no slave not know about Candyland, Candyland is that place. But I just didn't understand in the world of slavery, like, these are slaves are bought, they are auctioned off to the highest bidder. So when you see, because this is Schultz, this is his dream child, it's like, yeah, like, well, no, we're just gonna go buy her. Well, why would we go do that? Why wouldn't you go do that? Why wouldn't you just go and, hell, you could have went up to the door yourself and just made an offer for Hildy. But it's just like, oh no, we're not even gonna think about trying to go make an offer or try to attempt. No, we gotta have a whole plan, because this is Schultz. This is what Schultz likes to do. He's a planner, he's a finesser, he likes to put on the show. Like, no, we're not just gonna go up and what, we're just gonna try to go buy a slave? As a white man, you think I can do that? Yeah, you can. But it's like, no, we're gonna go and, put on this whole dog and pony show and get into Mandingo fighting. And then we're gonna make him a ridiculous offer. And then we're gonna, lure and speak some German. And then we're gonna get broom. And then, yeah. Now, right after that, we get into, you've piqued my interest, gentlemen. Now you have my attention. Like, as soon as we have Django coming into his own and, really smelling himself, like, you know what? I can do this shit. We can go get Broomhilde. He had just dust the little dust off of his shoulder. Before he could even do that, they introduce us to another character as equally entertaining as Schultz is. Another white character, like Django didn't stand a chance. Like, I want you guys to go back and watch and really see just how much dialogue Django even has, because it did not feel like it was a lot. Now, there was a lot of, sinister vibes and looks, because at that point he's, trying to look hard and be, assisting him, and he's a freed slave, and I'm assisting in finding this great Mandingo warrior. Oh, if y'all don't know about Mandingo fighting and what they did to them slaves back then, very brutal scene, that whole thing, and him, oh Lord. But as soon as we get, into Calvin, child, like, he steals the whole show, steals that whole scene. Like, as soon as Leonardo DiCaprio is on screen, it was like, what was happening on Django Who? Like, was it just me? But once we get into him and that accent and him really throwing himself into that nasty, racist plantation owner character, like, who was standing a chance? First of all, he's running shit. We're being pulled into his space. We see his, bodyguard, his little house, bed warmers, little sissy. I knew you didn't mean May. We get into his world. We are pulled into, his Mandingo fight, and the way that they are trying to pique his interest and finesse him just to get Hildy, but they have to impress him. And we also get into, his little flunky, like, oh, no. He prefers Monsieur Candy, but don't speak any French. So they're all taking this in, especially Django. Like, he doesn't like to be, don't poke the bear. He doesn't like to feel small or feel like he's more or less than anybody. Just, stroke his ego, get this Mandingo fighter, and go on your way. But we are supposed to be sinking it in because we have Django coming into his own, and he is going out of his way to prick and press his buttons. He was actually kind of doing the most. I was like, bruh. We have Django really trying to sell that, you know, I'm that one in a million. Like, I am that dude. You have every right to look at me sideways. I come in here as a black man, and they have to, you know, treat him a certain way. Schultz has demanded that he be treated as a free man and with a certain amount of respect, and, like, you know, don't question him. And of course, Calvin Candy's looking like, I don't know. But you have Jamie Foxx giving those really great one-liners, like, you know, he doesn't want the niggas you want to sell, he wants the niggas you don't want to sell. Like, and that's all great and nice, but it didn't stand a candle next to a fucking scene stealer like Calvin Candy. Like, Django, who? Now, on this whole trip back to the Candyland plantation, we really get into Calvin kind of trying to fish and suss out the vibes. Like, I hear what you're saying. The money sounds good, but I'm not quite buying it. And you have the both of them, especially Django at that moment, poking the bear. You know, he knocking people who's disrespecting him off of horses, threatening to shoot people. You have Calvin trying to really, like, you know, once he, you know, I won every fight figure, like, oh, boss, like, please, like, oh yeah, you tried to run away, and he has, you know, the dogs whip him up, really, you know, harsh scenes. There's some really graphic stuff in this movie, but you have him really, like you can barely stomach stuff like this. How are you trying to get into Mandingo fighting? Which is why we should have just fucking tried to buy Hildy in the first place. But, you know, hey, we wouldn't have all the good action if we got it, if he did that. But anywho, like, they're just really trying. But once again, you have them reassure, everybody's standing firm. You have, you know, him stop. Can I consult with my young man for a second? Like, can you calm the fuck down on pushing Calvin Candy's buttons? Because, man, we just trying to get to the plantation. You doing the most with your little sunglasses on in your hat. Like, no, he likes this. I'm fucking with it. I'm speaking French, and you don't speak that shit. You know, Morsu Kendi, like, we rode 5 hours. I am not impressed. Show me something. Like, Django is really selling it and really putting a lot on it, and Jamie Foxx is doing amazing in the scenes and everything, and really, you know, selling it that he's, you know, a slave owner himself. He's, you know, shouting obscenities and treating them, and you know, you have these, which, you know, is another payoff in the end. You have all the black men who were just purchased. They're looking like this motherfucker right here. Like, man, if you want a fellow brother, like, but you know, he is selling it. But in those same scenes, we also have, you know, and I wonder, who gonna reimburse me for my $500? Who got my $500? Like, what? Like, it was just all too good. And if you really weigh out where the real focus was, for me, my focus in the beginning was on Schultz, and then my focus midway in the film, because we're so, you know, insisting on tricking him and getting him to believe, you know, that they're interested in Mandingo fighting, and the surroundings, all the violence, all the torture, the killing, the dogs, the slaves, like the beating, that doesn't bother or trigger like any of us. We are trying to, what's good? Let's get to the plantation so we can get to Hildy. I'm focusing on Calvin Candy. So I was like, at what point beyond that very end, that really great shootout, were we made to really invest and focus on just Django? The movie is called Django. Django. And then what do we go and do once we get to the plantation? Where's my beautiful sister? Once we get to the goddamn plantation, what do we do? Right at that moment when we left that scene that really shows that Django has come into his own. I'm with the shits. I'm ready to play. I'm finding myself on that same level as Schultz. I'm no longer, you know, the student. We throw in somebody else who upstaged. I say, who's that nigga on that name? Like, we we throw in Samuel Jackson as Stephen, giving his very best Uncle Ruckus ass impression. Stephen is that slave who has been conditioned, who has been on the plantation all his life and has seen, you know, fathers and sons of sons come and go, and he is, you know, abiding by his plantation owner, like, massa, we sick, massa, we hurt, like, Calvin, like, he loves Calvin's dirty draws, and he is the first one to size up and look at Django like, this nigga gonna stay in the big house? Like, yeah, yes he is. Like, damn, where's Hilda? Like, oh shit, her ass in that hot box. Now if she beat up, she did all that shit to herself. Like, Samuel Jackson comes and steals the movie yet again. Like, we had scene stealer after scene stealer after scene stealer come through, and it's just like, when? Oh, this was about Django. Yeah, this was about Django and Broomhilde. It's like they were side characters in their own film, and tell me they wasn't. Then we get into Kerry Washington with her mute, I got 3 lines, have an ass. Like, girl, you had one job. Once they actually get into the house and set up that, you know, Schultz is German, he wants nothing more than to have, you know, someone by his accompanist who speaks German, and they set it up, and, you know, hey, little troublemaker, and they're speaking, and it's just, you know, it's a great moment. She's here, she's no longer a mirage, she's in my face, I can touch her, and they just can't contain their excitement. Everybody's, you know, around the white table talking about life and Mandingo fighting, and the prospects of them, you know, in that $1,200 is just sounding really, really good. But on the flip side, you have goddamn Hilda just like, she's shaking, she just can't contain herself. Like, oh yes, he came. Yes, girl, I came to get you. Calm down. All of that shit that's balling in your body, save that for when we get far off of the Candyland grounds. This is a massive ass place. Relax. But Senior Candy is just so invested in just like really trying to sell, like, oh yeah, that really sounds good, you know, for the Mandingo fighter and all that good stuff. But yeah, what about Hildy? She speaks German. I had a really good time with her last night. Could I, you know, maybe even purchase her as well as just like, oh yeah, I'm willing to throw her in. Like, I'm focused on that Mandingo fighter and getting that money. But wait, there's more. There was a hater. That old school in the back. She know that nigga. Like, oh. You know that nigga, don't you? Who? Like, oh, Hildy, act like you don't know. Hildy was blowing the whole spot up, and he spotted it coming a mile from away. Like, no, they have been in a relationship. The niggas know each other. I bet you they've been married. Like, you are being had. Wake the fuck up. They came in here, you know, dangled the thought of the Mandingo fighter and that $12,000, and it sounded real good, didn't it? They didn't come here for that. They came here for that gal. It's like, oh, you dirty motherfuckers. Scene stealers. And then we get into Soul to the man with the exceptional beard and his unexceptional nigga. Like, what more do you need to prove that this is not Django's goddamn film? I feel like this scene, this whole round table situation, when they really find out the agenda, and they fucking go up, and Leonardo DiCaprio delivers that really good performance. That is the best goddamn scene in the movie, in my opinion. More climactic. I was more invested, way more than, you know, the shootout is great. The shootout is really, really great. Him returning in the, you know, it's great. This particular scene here, it's so tense. We had already had that, you know, don't nobody want to look at her whipped up back. We had already had, you know, the tensions rising there. And when he gets into, you know, the slaves and the cranium, and I've seen them come and go, all of you have, you know, that same side of the brain that just has, you know, this much. Like, who told you that your brain was any different, Django? You're just, everybody's shit is the same. And I'm sure if I bust Hildy's fucking head wide open, she'll have that same part of her brain. You are not the exception. You are not that 1 in a million ass nigga. Like, you gonna come in here and try to pull this the whole hand bleeding when he slaps his hand down on the table, which was not supposed to get cut. That was real fucking blood that just happened to go in the scene of him accidentally cutting himself and rubbing that shit all up in Kerry Washington's face. What's it gonna be, Doc? It's so freaking good. Like, it's so good and it's executed so well, and Leonardo does an amazing job. You can't give me great scenes like this and put your hands on that fucking turtle tabletop. Like, it's so good. It's so good. But I'm supposed to be paying attention to Django and worried about him and Hildy. I was with goddamn Samuel Calvin. Like, yeah, Calvin was stealing the goddamn scene and stole it all the way up until he shot. The fuck? We get even more into Django and Hildy being background characters once we have our main characters that we are really invested in. High-key Schultz and Candy have that sit down and it's just like, yes, got my billfold, you got your $1,200, sign, those freedom papers, and we can be on our way. And it's just like, can you please take your hands off the harp, miss? Like, you have had Schultz the entire movie up until that turtle tabletop scene. He has been calm as a goddamn cucumber, and he is just like writhing like this. He actually got the best of me. He actually figured out what we were going to do. Granted, he didn't actually figure it out. It was, goddamn Steven. But it's like somebody at this point in the movie actually got the best of me. I didn't get away with it. We didn't ride off into the sunset with, this complete, like, no. But you know what? It's okay. We're here for Broomhilda. We're signing the papers. We've had white cake in the parlor. Everything is okay. But he takes that moment to, play with his intelligence, and it's just like, yeah, you named your slave after 3 musketeers, and some white French. Like, no, it's a black man. Like, there is so much that you don't know. You're here, you're the plantation owner, you're revered, you're Calvin Candy, but I'm still the smarter one. You got the best of me, but bitch, I'm still the smarter one. Don't get it twisted. Give me these goddamn papers and I'm gonna be on my way. I never want to see you again. It's just like, oh, this bitch trying to clown me. Once again, they're testing me and pushing my intelligence. You know what? We're here in Chickasaw County, and the deal is not complete unless you shake my hand. You really want me to shake your hand? Like, the scene is so good. Where is Django and Broomhead? Right in the back. I love when you have, hey, if she takes a step towards that door, you blow her fucking head off. And it's just, you have goddamn Samuel Jackson step back out of the line of fire with that goddamn cane. Just freaking horrible. It's just like, He puts those goddamn papers in his back pocket. You really want me to shake it? Yes, I insist. Bam! Secret Wild Wild West gun in the sleeve. I was like, where the fuck did that come from? And he shoots with Calvin, whole slow motion. And he's, I couldn't help it. And he gets blown away, and it turns into full-blown gunfire. And only at that point that both of our leads, the main 2 men that we have been focusing on, even though this is supposed to be a Django movie, only when they are dead does, Jamie Foxx and Django come into play and be uplifted as the main character in the film. And what, we got about 30 minutes in the movie left of a 3-hour film? Come on, this is not his movie. I want us to get a full-fledged Django experience as far as, in the form of a Western. That would be so dope, because this just is not it. Now, is it good when we want to get on to we get Tupac going and, there's blood, all the blood splatter you would ever want to see in the world? I ain't never seen so many gunshots just make a whole body fly. Like, everybody, it's so good. It's so intense. And it's just, Django, we got your woman. And we get into, it's very brief. It goes really, really fast. His time in the sun in the film is so quick. We have that really great shootout and him trying to I'll fucking shoot it out to the end. Schultz has taught me well, and now he's dead. Now it's about me. Like, I have to do this. But since they got Broomhilda, not only is she captured and made to be a comfort girl once again, but he's hanging upside down. They love oh, we just gotta emasculate the black man and cutting off your balls and telling, oh, y'all so scared of black balls. But that just wasn't enough. Like, no, we want him to suffer. And, you know, hey, we gotta give Django something to do. We just had to cut his balls off. And it really wasn't about Django then. Like, no, we have him escorted with the Australians to this, you know, they gonna work you till you're dead, and they gonna knock you in your head with a hammer. It's just gonna be a life of goddamn misery. And this is, you know, what you get for fucking with Calvin Candy. So he thought we'd get a goddamn cameo. I cannot stand when Quentin Tarantino gets into his own films. Like, when directors get into their films, you're like, get out, just go direct. And he has that horrible Australian accent. And just, you know, by happenstance, he happens to have that Warren have them, you know, buy into. You see that everything that Schultz has taught him throughout the whole film, it comes into play. He uses it, he finesses these men, you know, get the dynamite. And it's like, you know, I'm going back to saying Broomhilda. You also get, you know, those black men who once looked at him in disdain that also worked in the plot. Like, yes, he came in, he rode in on a horse, he was, you know, a slaver, he was this, that, and, you know, everything worked out in his favor, and everything kind of came back around full circle. And the man has that smirk like, oh, he was a good nigga all along. He wasn't no slave. Like, there's this sense of comfort and accomplishment, and him riding, you know, all bareback on the horse, and, you know, it's an intense moment. It's great, but it took us long enough to get there. Not only does he get there and, you know, save Broomhilda, and, you know, we go meet with the Calvin and the bind. He has the most goddamn dialogue that he has in the film at that very moment, with the last 10 to 15 minutes of the film. Yeah, say goodbye to Miss Laura. Bye, Laura. Bow! Like, you uppity son of a bitch. You know, there's a whole bunch of, you know, dialogue, and he has on Calvin's clothes. He's really coming to his own. He shoots, you know, racist ass Uncle Ruckus in the knees and blows up the house with dynamite, and, you know, she's out, and it's just this whole, you know, vindicative moment. But I don't feel like, I was like, oh, goddamn, we done lost Candy and Schultz. They were so entertaining the entire film, and, you know, it's supposed to be a full circle great moment of him not only getting his vengeance but prevailing. And, you know, I got Broomhilda, like, he got everything he wanted in the end. The horse does a little dance. It's all, you know, great. But me, myself, personally, along for that 3-hour ride, I was on that ride because of Schultz and Calvin Candy. Please drop down in the comments and explain to me how. Well, you guys, that was my review for Django. I hope you enjoyed it. I am really looking forward to reading and seeing you guys' comments as far as, you know, how I felt about the film and my breakdown as to why I really don't think that we got the Django film that we went in for. Hopefully we do get that in the future. But not to take anything away from the film, this is a really good movie. It's very entertaining. It's very great, but Django, it is not. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you guys for watching. I see you next time. Bye.